Well, I would love to start with you trying this, which I discovered over the weekend while you were out of town.
What is this? Okay.
It's from Great Divide. It's called Love and Lemons. It is a
Whoa, you're not kidding.
not kidding.
That is lemony.
So we've talked about our on and off enjoying of things like shandies and radlers, which is where you take just a normal light beer and you mix maybe fruit juice with it, or in the case of a radler, you mix like soda, like a grapefruit soda or a Sprite even. And very often they're great, but they're too sweet.
Yeah.
And this new one, I just happened to see it at the store, not sweet at all.
That is lemony. That reminds me of my mom's lemon bars. She would always at least double the amount of lemon juice in the
wow.
recipe, because otherwise it's just like sweet with a little hint of lemon. But
Right.
we want it to like bite you back.
Yeah, right.
This bites you back.
It is not like a lemonade thing. It is like someone just squeezed a lemon into a beer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Really refreshing.
So that's what you found over the weekend.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you were in Guimas.
I was in Guimas. It looks like an island that should be named Guemes. Guemes, but apparently they say Guimas.
They sure do.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's in the San Juan Islands, and it's a good thing that I am actually back today. Well, I would have gotten back this morning, but I'm not good at travel, or I'm sometimes not good at travel.
It is the one thing you're not good at.
I'm surprisingly bad at travel.
It's unbelievable to me because you are so on top of
I
every
know.
detail, and then you start traveling.
I know, I have made every mistake. So I have I've sat through boarding at the gate, people getting on the plane around me because I was engrossed in a book. And then it was completely quiet and the plane was gone, and I looked up from my book and I was like, oh no, I missed my flight. Like, I was in front of the gate. I have, let's see, in Germany, I missed a flight because of a time zone confusion. So again, I checked the gate. I got to my gate. I was like, okay, I've got a couple hours. I went away. I came back. The flight had left. I have left my purse at the gate. Got on the plane without my purse. I have left my purse on the plane. I have many times thought the flight was going to leave at a certain time, and I was completely wrong. And then what happened this last trip was basically I need to fly to Seattle and then take a shuttle bus 2 hours to Anacortes and then take a ferry to get to the island. And so on the way back, it's the reverse. And I booked my shuttle bus to drop me at the airport 45 minutes before my flight took off. I think I looked at the Google Calendar and it did a time zone fix thing.
It's
and
the only explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's this similar to when I booked us the first hotel night in New Zealand.
Oh, right.
I checked it. I double checked it. I triple checked it. But it was due to the time zone and date difference that and then Google Calendar making the adjustment.
Right.
I booked the hotel to start the night that we were flying over. And so if I hadn't noticed that, we would have gotten there and found that we had no hotel because we hadn't checked in the first night.
Right.
Anyway, I'm here. I made it. I got there. The shuttle was actually late.
Which is unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the shuttle pulled into the airport at 7:51 and my flight was at 8:30. And they won't start unloading the suitcases from under the bus until everybody is off the bus. So I'm just like, I'm like, come on, people, get all of you, get off. And then ever so politely, I asked the lady, I was like, my flight is real soon. Do you think you can find my suitcase first? And she tried to, but she failed. It was in the last bin she opened. And of course, as soon as she opened a bin, everybody's like, trying to get in and get their stuff. She's like, no, you can't do it. I have to do it. So, and then I ran so fast once I got my suitcase. I was like, I'm glad I've been running these stairs.
Yeah,
because,
right.
Well, after I got through security, which was all right. It was relatively fast, but
it's still pretty fast for a major city airport.
It was pretty good.
That was
it
good.
was only 5 to 7 minutes in security, and then I booked it. I felt like I was in a movie. I was like dodging and weaving. I'm like, pew, just through these people, pew,
Or that there was that commercial in like the 90s where O.J. Simpson was like running through the airport and he's like, doing like football plays and like jumping over like rows of seats.
It felt
and,
like that. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to take the stairs here. I'm going to take the ramp. I'm going to go, down the
straight arming people out of the way.
But I was trying to do it kind of like not too loud. I wasn't trying to like slap my feet like blah blah blah. Because one time I like took a misstep and I slapped my foot real hard, and this guy like jumped out of his skin. He was like, "I'm gonna get run over."
Yeah.
So I'm like tiptoe sprinting through the airport, and I made it. I made it. I was the last one on the plane. And I made it.
Texted me, and I was commiserating with you. I did not think you were going to make that flight. I really did. It, oh my gosh. Like, if that had been Denver, because Denver is just physically so big, and you have to take a train to all these gates, and it's like, it's security, your gate might be a literal mile away. I mean, maybe it's not a mile, but it's like far. There's no...
Yeah.
And
if you try to get on the people movers, those moving sidewalks, inevitably there's somebody who's blocking it and you can't.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have
always.
to stop behind them. You're like, Anyway, what did you do while I was gone?
Gosh, I had a really busy week musically and everything. One of the big things was Cody.
You had a couple gigs with him. Huh?
A couple gigs, and then we did some session work. He's got a song that he's been trying to find, maybe is a good way to say it. It's mostly written, and he's just kind of finding it. And it is specifically about... he got the idea originally from the Marshall fires, which we've talked about, were the fires that I was in Florida for Christmas, and there was just crazy wind, and it
burned a whole bunch of houses.
And anyway, that gave him the initial inspiration, and we've been working on it for a while. We play it live, but studio-wise, we're still trying to find it. So Thursday, we spent most of the day working on that. We retracked vocals that probably aren't final vocals, but the demo only had placeholder lyrics, and he had since finished the lyrics. So we were like... let's at least get the real lyrics on there. And then it's funny because you would have something to say about this. It's an interesting melody in that it's not just sort of like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. It's not like it's kind of a jumpy melody. So we were working on some harmonies, and it became quickly apparent that like you're actually going to have to work on these harmonies.
Right.
Because it's just not a super generic, easy melody where you can just jump up a third and
then... If I recall, it's like da 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 da, so something like that. Like it's got big intervals in it. Not big, but
it's what I think of. I don't know that it's literally modal in terms of music theory, but it's very like jumpy, and it has lots of fourths jumps. Anyway, so we were like, let's just get the vocal down. That'll give Cody time to work out the harmonies. And as you know, he loves doing more than just a single harmony. He wants, and we worked most of the day on that. And then we did a little bit of rehearsing because we had 2 gigs this weekend. First gig was at Parker Days, which is in Parker. Especially on a Friday afternoon when they have Parker Days, quite a long drive.
Oh, really?
It was a solid hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I took the long way around.
Uh-huh.
And it was still just...
Huh.
Yeah, and both Cody and I, we were playing at 6:30, and we both left the house at like 3:30.
Oh, jeez. Just
to be like, who knows what it's going to be like. And sure enough, traffic was pretty bad. We worked with a sound guy I've not worked with before, but really, really accomplished guy, Zane. I did not catch the name of his company, but he had us set up in no time. And it was just Cody and I doing, me playing acoustic guitar and Cody singing and performing. And we wound up, they wanted us to go on early, so we wound up doing like an hour and a half. Mostly, I mean, a good mix, like we always do, of his originals and covers. And boy, we also played Saturday, but I got so beat up by playing acoustic guitar for that long. So we played an hour and a half-ish Friday, and then we played 2 hours Saturday.
Mm-hmm. You don't play acoustic that much.
I really do not. Or if I do, I'm playing with a band. When I'm playing, it's just me and a vocalist. I'm really banging a lot, and I do a lot of like where I'm kind of getting some rhythm into it, and I'm at least like slapping my arm against the guitar as I'm strumming. So there's almost like a sound of like a kick drum going, or whatever, and it's just, it just tears your hands up. I get like little weird paper cuts that you just almost can't even see, but they just hurt because I'll just hit the strings and it'll just like almost paper cut me. And I had like an egg. You can't see it anymore, but it was like that. From my arm hitting the like top of the guitar, and it didn't bruise up, but like Sunday it was like that.
Oh my gosh.
And you don't feel it at the time, but then after, well, we practiced for like an hour and a half Thursday, played for an hour and a half Friday, played for 2 hours Saturday, so it was a lot more acoustic guitar than I'm normally used to playing.
Yeah.
Or when we do the duo thing, I'm doing the looper thing.
Right.
And so that's covering up a lot of the space, and I don't have to do the, like, beat the guitar to death thing to kind of,
Yeah. So any lessons from doing all that playing? Any takeaways?
I was really regretting not getting the looper involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I had that exact reaction. We were setting up Friday, and I was like, why didn't I just get some really basic looper stuff going? Sometimes when we do loop stuff, we maybe get it a little too complicated, but I could have just done like just straight, there's a beat behind it. I can kind of like click in a beat and then that's it. I'm not even going to like loop bass lines and whatever, but I could have had some percussion going on with the looper instead of, But I will say both Friday and Saturday, both gigs went really, really well. Like, people enjoyed it. They're outdoor gigs. Colorado in the summer, there's tons of outdoor gigs. People are just kind of there to be outdoors and having a good time and, vendors and food and whatever. And both gigs were that kind of thing where people weren't necessarily there to hear music. It was just a nice thing that there is music. And, but people were really attentive, and even at Parker Days, there were a lot of people who actually stayed and sat there for the entire show.
Wow.
So both times we were playing on stages, but we were kind of playing to like the food court area where people would naturally sit down. And so we were entertaining people while they would get food or get a drink, and then they're going to sit down for a while before they, And so there were kind of a lot of strangers there who literally sat through the whole thing, and you could kind of tell they weren't necessarily planning on sitting there for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was, but it was working for them. And
that's great.
We got some people dancing, and
wow, just with a duo.
Yeah, it was not, I've over the years figured I can make a fair amount of racket just banging on it. It's physically hard on my hands, but you can get a real beat going.
Yeah.
And there's something to, here's another takeaway lesson. If you are presenting a full and constant tempo, like if there's just an inherent beat, even if you're not necessarily making like, oh, here's kind of the snare drum sound and here's kind of the kick drum sound, but you're just really like dialing in on the beat is right here, and I'm being like very consistent. Even if it is kind of an open thing, like just a guitar and a vocal, there's something inherently dancey about that if you just get the tempo dialed in. That's one thing I will say about Cody. Nobody's perfect, but Cody will lock in on a tempo. So, like, even the vocal is right there. And sometimes it's not. In the very beginning of a song, we're not on the same page. And we're maybe a beat or half a beat off of where I feel like it should be and where he feels like it to be. And he'll do kind of what you'll do. He'll start tapping his foot to where he thinks it is. and then I'll kind of pull into like where he is. But once he locks in, he doesn't really move. Mm-hmm. So it really made me realize like, oh, as long as you have like a tempo and people can feel that tempo, there's something just dancey about that. It doesn't necessarily need the drums. It just needs that consistent, like, it's right here is the beat, you know. And gosh, we did just everything. We did a few of the musical theater show tunes things, and we did some of the new Bruno Mars stuff, and, you know, we were just all over the map.
Wow, that's all over.
Yeah. Kicking myself for not pulling out the looper. But,
yes, next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, we had a good time, and yeah, that was a bunch of it. Continuing to do music and production stuff. Been working a lot with Lena, who I've talked about, the indie rock singer-songwriter. That stuff is getting, you know, final stages. And the Eric Golden record is currently at mastering.
Woo! Good
so
for
we got
you.
that approved Sunday afternoon, actually. I gave him, you know, I've started doing this thing where I've got, I'll just make a folder that these are the mixes for approval. Like, we've been trading mixes forever, but like at the final stage, here's all, in this case, 10 songs, and here's what you have to check on, you know, check off on all these. And Sunday afternoon, there was one tiny little thing, and we had to go in and fix it. And then, you know, got it off to Anna Fort Collins, and she's finishing it up currently. So that was a
yay
big thing of the weekend.
Yeah.
You know? And, yeah, and gosh, I will tell you, the heat this weekend, you were so lucky being in
I know. I was so lucky.
I mean, the plants were not doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually everything in your yard has the summer to kind of acclimate.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to get 90s and high 90s and 100 degrees, but not usually from like cool spring and then immediately
20 degrees,
25 I think we had
degrees.
97 one day.
Oh.
Yeah, and the plants did not like it.
Yeah.
So I was getting up.
Don't blame them.
Yeah. I was getting up at a couple of days. I got up at like 6 or 6:30 and then put a bunch of water all over the plants and then went back to bed because they were not digging it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, this one might be a little short.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, because I'm really tired because I went to bed late last night and then got up to try to water ski, but it was too windy. So, came home.
And I knew it immediately, too. Like,
when I got home?
Before you, like, you had left and I woke up a little bit because you left and I could hear the wind chimes and stuff banging around.
The thing is, at this lake, sometimes the weather's completely different just at this lake.
Well, and that's more right. I shouldn't say I knew when I heard the wind chimes and stuff, but as soon as you were home early, I was like, it must have been, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't worth skiing. It was 55 degrees and windy.
And that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So, we've got some stuff coming up this weekend. Unfortunately, we did have a gig that got canceled. But, gosh, I had 2 gigs that got canceled.
Oh, really? What's the other one?
Well, the Half End gig.
Oh,
it was supposed to be Saturday.
Right.
And that did not happen.
Yeah.
It's worth saying.
Right.
That's something. It's absolutely all right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
got plenty of gigs. I mean, I still have a church gig this weekend, and I have the masterclass for the International Voice Teachers of Mix this Saturday.
That is going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't be there, but
yeah, it's 9 a.m., so you won't be there. Besides, I mean, you wrote the book with me.
Yeah, that's mainly why I won't be there. But
but I'm ready. I finished the presentation while I was out of town this weekend.
Okay. If you would like to carve out some time to run over it,
I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. No, it's an exciting thing. That's It's been,
the takeaway here has been, so I'm making this, presentation. It's a 90-minute masterclass, so it's not 90 minutes of presenting, but X amount of time of presenting, and then I work with somebody on at least one of the concepts they presented.
Okay.
So I'm trying to bring it in, around 60 to 70 minutes.
That's the hard thing with classes. Yeah.
Yeah. But the takeaway is in having to distill our book's concepts down to a presentation
Right.
that hopefully lasts about an hour, it really clarified what we're trying to say. Making the presentation reorganized the book.
Right.
It really did, because it was like pulling the outline back out of the book, which is interesting because we started with an outline, we wrote the book from an outline, then we realized some things while we wrote the book, so some content changed.
Yes.
And then we moved some things around and to make more sense, and then I had to pull an outline back out of that to present.
Right.
Which further clarified concepts, which then went back into the book.
Right.
So this has been, like, I'm so glad they asked me to do this presentation because I think it's really improving the book.
Yeah, and I have found that over the years. I mean, we've talked a bunch about how we're probably not going to do these, the 3 and 4 hour classes that I've often done. But very often we also used to do 8 or 10 week classes. And very often when I would have one of those come up, I would go back and essentially rewrite all of my course material for that based on what I learned last time and having taught it would go like, oh, I need to re-explain or reorder the information or you just, yeah. So you're right. That is a great, it's almost like a dress rehearsal for the book in some senses. You know, just like, let's see it on its feet and
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not nervous about it at all. I know these concepts inside and out from writing the book with you, from discussing this stuff for years.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to share it. And then let's see, church gig, and sometime next week or
following. Yeah.
Well, it's hopefully going to be next week. We're going to switch from MBO to Opus 1.
Oh, right. Yes, you have been full bore on that. So those are
It's the booking and payment system that we run the studio on.
Right.
Yeah, we want to have it done before the 1st of the month because that's when payments run, but it's not a smooth transition necessarily, particularly from the payment standpoint, because MBO, the current platform we're on, won't release our client payment data until we have canceled with them, and I have requested a cancel, but they won't actually cancel me until I meet with one of their account retention people who doesn't have any room in our calendar for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Which gets you through another billing cycle.
Yeah, so we might just have to have all of our clients input their payment information again, which that's a real pain.
That is a real pain, and it's a lot to ask of everybody, and but yeah. Well.
Oh well.
I mean, at the positive way to look at it is this is a growing pain. This is not a stay at the same level pain. This is going to allow so much more functionality and save so many people so much time to,
allow clients to self-serve much better. It's going to be a lot more organized. Yeah, I'm excited about it overall, but it's going to be probably a stressful couple 3-4 weeks coming up.
Yeah, and then, and we're going to be out of town and this and that and the other thing. All
right.
Well, anyway, that has been it. I basically finished a record and a half and beat myself up playing acoustic guitar, and that was my music life.
Yeah, I had no music life last week.
Yeah. Well,
None whatsoever.
You were in paradise.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, watching movies and eating.
And such a beautiful place with such incredible weather and scenery, and you were running up mountains and
running up and down mountains,
being around the ocean
and through airports.
Yeah. So anyway, we are wedging this one in this week.
Oh my gosh.
So if it were up to me, I would have done the normal great quality podcast we do. Unfortunately, I'm not in control of all the factors.
I phoned this one in, that's for sure. Can we stop?
Yeah, we're done. Guys, Thanks so much. We always have fun, and we love that you guys listen. And we will talk to you next week.
All right, see ya. Oh, wait, who's sponsored?
Uh,
Oh, that was a close one.
I'm a hack and a fraud. We are sponsored this week by Great Divide Brewing and their brand new Love and Lemons. Thanks, guys, for asking us to sponsor your product. And we are also sponsored by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And now we're done. All right, see you next week.